Hey, everybody, we're here. I'm here. So today, your training, your free training is on how to know exactly what to charge, how many clients to have. March is really, it's my month to remind myself about money. I mean, I'm getting ready for tax season. I'm starting to get my head around how I'm going to get this all to the accountant. What is my new, I've got a new accountant, so I'm a little nervous. And so let me just double check. It looks like I'm live streaming. Yay. And I want to make sure that I can see you guys if you're here. I know it's tough to get over here in the middle of the day, and 10 a.m. is the middle of the day for a lot of you guys. So if you're able to join me today, awesome. If you are not, no worries, because you know where I'll be. I'm going to record all of this, and this will go into your Step It Up module. And if you guys haven't been into your Step It Up module lately, it is, you go to the start here. It's got a number 1 by it. You click start here, and over on the side, you will see everything, all of our trainings, not only in video form, but also transcribed, because I don't know about you, but I don't like to watch videos all the time. So I love to go back and read because I'm a fast reader. And so it does look like I am the only one in the group today. No worries. I'm going to go ahead and get going, and I'm going to screen share and show you everything that I think you need to know about what to charge, how many clients you should have. And so if you're a seasoned practitioner and you already know this stuff, maybe this will give you some ideas you haven't thought of. If you're brand new, or maybe you're a new supervisor and you're thinking about, okay, what's supervision going to actually bring to my practice? This will help too. Also, it's going to introduce this idea of long-term planning, really getting strategic about where you want your practice to go, because that's what it's all about. We can't just sort of open the lemonade stand or the hot dog stand, sell a bunch of hot dogs, get up in the morning, do it again, get up in the morning, do it again, right? Because counseling isn't like that. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. And if you have a family or a partner who doesn't understand that you're working a lot, or you have, kiddos who are like, why is mom or dad exhausted all the time? It's really not fair to them if you're still just trying to work all hours of the day, and you're trying to do all the blogging and everything, answering the phones, all in the name of earning this magic number. So I don't like a magic number. I like a specific number. I like to know exactly what it is that I'm working for. And that's really what I'm going to show you guys today. So forgive the dirty glasses. I'm going to see if I can get into this. So one of the things that I do when I teach classes for students who are thinking about going into private practice at university, I teach this class, and it's very unusual for a university to offer sort of a business class, but sometimes they do. I show them something I call a life formula, and I'm going to share my screen right now so you can see what I'm talking about. So the life formula gets my students to start thinking ahead. And it's a little overwhelming when you look at it, especially if you're a student and you haven't really figured any of this stuff up before. But to be a business owner, you have to think about this stuff. And it's not necessarily to make a business plan to get a bank loan, right? Because we have very low overhead as counselors. Often we don't need to do that, right? We can just use a used couch and an old computer. So the life formula helps students start thinking about, okay, what does this look like? So you can see at the beginning, it asks you to calculate yearly expenses. So right there, a lot of students go, wow. So I just, think of a generic number like $2,000 a month, right? If it's rent, great. Try to think in terms of things you don't owe money. So don't put student loans into this. Don't put your mortgage into this. This is just keeping the lights on, I don't know, buying Starbucks, whatever, buying groceries. So generally just $2,000 a month. Now, the second line is going to be your debt. So if you owe $200,000 on a mortgage, or $70,000 in a student loan, or you still owe $10,000 on your car, that's going to go here. And then how long you plan to live. This could be aspirational, or it could be a real number where you Google the actuarial tables and you're like, oh, I see that I'm supposed to die when I'm 82, so I have 35 years to live or something like that. That's up to you. So figure out how long you plan to live. I plan to live to 104. Now, we're going to do this YAG, years above ground. So this is your time above ground, not dead, okay? Literally years above ground. So the last 5 years or so, though, we're going to call DYAG or DYAG, disabled years above ground. And it's a very, very kind of, I think, conservative. I mean, a lot of us are just going to be vital to the day we, go to the great whatever. But thinking in terms of maybe the last 5 years, God willing, you will need someone to help care for you. So whether that's someone to help you get around or that's someone to help you with memory care, you may need someone those last 5 years. So we're going to call that DYAG, D-Y-A-G, disabled years above ground. And I'm creating a fixed expense for that just based on now, because with most assisted living, it's you're talking at least $5,000 a month. Memory care is going to be obviously more than that. So 5 years, and that gives you about $60,000 a year that you must plan for those last 5 years. Now, the years between your age right now, and your disabled years above ground, I know I'm coming up with lots of fun acronyms here, we're going to call working years above ground. So we have disabled years above ground and your working years above ground. So here's where the math comes in. Your working years above ground times your expenses, your disabled years above ground times 60,000, and the answer to number 2, which is how long you want to live, right? And we're going to call the total of these 3 numbers your lifetime expenses. So we've got your debt, your yearly expenses times the number of years you're going to live, and then those last 5 years. Now, here's the fun part. This is going to give you the number, the magic number. Well, I'll call it the magic number. You're going to need to reach your financial goals. So here's my example, Jane. Jane is 54. I wrote this when I was 54. I'm not 54 anymore. So Jane is 54 and she expects to live until she's 100. Go Jane. So for her years above ground, she's got about 46 years to live. Now remember, the disabled years above ground, we're going to keep that at 5 years, her last 5 years. So from 95 to 100, we're going to go ahead and calculate that at about $60,000 a year. Her working years going to be about 41 years because she wants to work right up until the day she goes into that assisted living. Go Jane. So she's going to work 41 more years. So Jane's yearly expenses total around $12,000 because she's super frugal. So her expenses are $12,000. She owes $70,000 on her house, and she would like to pay $10,000 for her daughter's wedding, and she owes about $17,000 on her car. So her debt is $97,000. Working years above ground, that was that 41. Remember, she wants to work 41 more years times expenses, right? That's just what her Starbucks habit is going to be, $492,000. I know this seems huge. Her disabled years above ground, 5 years times 60, that's another $300,000. And then she has $97,000 in debt. Her lifetime expenses at the ripe old age of 54, if she works until lives until she's 95, is going to be $889,000. Huge number until you look and see she only needs to make $21,683 a year, right? So that's a manageable number. That's pretty incredible, right? So she only needs to make $21,683 a year to make it with this much debt, we'll call them luxurious expenses the last 5 years, although it shouldn't be a luxury, and paying off her debt completely. So if Jane wants now, so that's if she wants to work right up until the day she goes into assisted living, go Jane. However, if Jane wants to retire at 65, all you got to do is reduce that working years above ground number. It's not going to be 41 years anymore. So for 65, now she needs to make $80,818 a year, right? Because her working years above ground are, I think, 11 years. Don't make me do the math, 54 to 65. Yeah, so 11 years. So she's got 11 years to take care of that number. And she's going to have a lot more years not working, right, before she hits that where she needs to come up with $60,000 a year. So that's a simple way to start. I know it doesn't seem simple. And if you guys were on here, I would love to answer questions about this, but you're not, and that's okay, because you'll get to see this on the video. Come back. Actually, why don't I stop sharing? There we go. So when you think about this and you start thinking about the actual numbers, then you can start dividing that into clients. So let's say that the number is on the high side, on the $100,000 a year side. So 6 figures sounds like a lot, but not if you have a big family, or you have parents to take care of, or you have student loans or weddings you want to pay for. So even if you're deciding on making $100,000 a year, add another $24,000 to that, because it's good to think about expenses, right? So if you have $2,000 a month in expenses, so you need to make $124,000 a year, and you don't want to work every single week, right? You want to take at least 4 weeks off during the year, whether it's for a holiday or a vacation, or you get sick. So you're not working 52 weeks a year, right? You're going to work 48 weeks in the year. So take that number, 100,000, divide it into the 48. Then you're going to come up with around $2,000 a week that you need to make. How do you want to expense that, right? How do you want to divide that up? Do you want to work a lot of hours, like 20 hours a week with direct hours towards clients and charge less? Awesome. That would be great for a community where you're wanting to charge cash, but you want to keep it around $60 to $100 per client, or you want to have the ability to do a sliding fee scale, right? Or let's say you want to work fewer hours a week and your community demographic would support that. So you're going to charge closer to $150 to $200 an hour for that service. So you can see also when you look at the lower side, that's ideal for insurance. If you would rather get onto an insurance panel and you're in a community where folks are insured, so maybe there's a big company in town, like there's an Exxon, and you know that there's going to be a steady flow of EAP, or folks who take a particular kind of insurance and the market's not saturated and you're able to get on the panel, you know for a fact you'll be making between $80 and $100 per client. Now knowing that you have to make that $80,000 a year will help you decide how to structure your week, right? So you've watched videos with me before about time management. I hope I'm going to do way more. I'm going to do lots of trainings on time management, right? Because you don't need to be working on Saturdays and you don't need to be working at midnight. But if you're able to now structure your week so that you're taking, let's say, 20 direct hours, you're making your magic number based on what you need in order to retire comfortably and to have your disabled years above ground funded completely, then you can relax and start to think about your practice, right? Now, one of the things about a cash pay. So let's think about that just for a second. With rates. So let's, there's so many ethical considerations when you're wanting to charge on folks a sliding fee scale, right? You're going to need something concrete that you can base that scale on, like federal poverty standards. Let's say you want to do a fixed rate. You're going to do $80 for everybody, right? No matter what they want or how many hours, it's going to be just $80. That's okay too. But when you get into the higher dollar amounts, the 150s, the 200s, then you're actually looking at a different type of client, right? We talk about stages of change, like pre-contemplative, contemplative, ready for change, right? Those stages of change, maybe when you have someone who's willing to pay you $200 an hour, they're not going to be there long, in all likelihood, even if you're amazing. They're going to be working hard because they've decided they're ready to pull the trigger. They want to get this done. They want to make the changes they need to make. You've got a really ready client. So they're going to work harder and maybe get out of counseling faster. That just means your counseling has to be based, your business needs to have a marketing focus. You've really got to work on intakes and not a census, right? The higher your rate, you're going to want to work on intakes and not maintaining a census, right? Because what's the point of setting goals of keeping a number of people on your roll when they don't need to be there, right? We're a wellness model. In fact, if we try to convince people, hey, you know what, I think you need more counseling, if that's really not where they are, now you're kind of in that ethical gray area. Now, those of you who are charging less, let's say your magic number, you can meet that with $60 and your demographic supports that and folks are coming in and your roster's full and they're staying, then perhaps your clientele is in that pre-contemplative or contemplative stage, right? So contemplative, I know I'm saying that weird, contemplative stage. So they're thinking about change, or they're almost ready for change, and they need a longer session cycle to make the changes that they want to make, right? So now we're getting into your theory. Who knew that there was a therapeutic use of money? I did. And there's a video about that. Go to my YouTube channel called The Therapeutic Use of Money, because money is part of the relationship. Unless you have the ability to really buffer yourself from the cash. So in other words, you have an insurance company setting your fees, you have a front office person who's collecting those fees, and you're just able to say, I have no idea, it's not, if that's above my pay grade, then you can keep money out of the equation. But if you're still raising your rates on current clients, if you're still, somehow that negotiation is happening, the money negotiation is happening between you and your client or your potential client, you can't ignore it, right? And money has now become part of the relationship. So if you're still guessing as to what exactly you need to make and why, then do the life worksheet. Take this video, rewind it, look at it again, go through it, make sure you understand exactly what you need. Are things going to change? Of course they're going to change. Did I include everything? Of course I did it. You're really going to need some time, and it's always good to sit with someone you trust, especially if it's someone who shares that budget with you. So your committed partner or a trusted family member, if you can hire Dave Ramsey to come over and take a look at it. I don't work for Dave Ramsey, I'm just a fan. Then look at that till you come up with your number. Once you come up with your number, then you can decide what to charge, how many clients you need, and always remember the stages of change. So your clients at the higher end may not stay as long. Your theory may have to become more structured and solution focused, and lots of folks out there teaching great solution focused techniques and theories. Well, I see number 3, there we are. So talked about that. So one of the things, there we go. Okay, last thing I wanted to tell you. One, I kind of brushed on it, but I didn't really get there. Also in March, I'm going to talk to you about how to get ready for tax season, because expenses, they play a huge part in this. If you aren't counting everything you should count as an expense, as a write-offable expense, you're going to pay more in taxes. So we take all of that money. So let's say we upped your magic number from $100,000 a year to $124,000 a year. Google tax brackets for the past year, and you'll have an idea of what you'll need to owe in taxes. So if you're in the 15% tax bracket, add on another $18,000 that you're going to need to come up with. And there's a way to plan for that quarterly. There's a way, if you want to save up for it at the end of the year, I don't recommend that. But we'll talk about that more in the next training we have in the Step It Up group. So look for that video if you want to participate, if you want to hang in here with me and ask questions and interact. I'm happy to do that too. So I'm going to end our video today on that. Go back, rewind the video, look at the training on how I went through the life worksheet. And in your Step It Up #1 module, start here. I'll make sure to also include a link to the life worksheet so that you can take a look at that and fill it out yourself. So I'm so happy you guys are in here and going that extra mile to get your practices up to badass. I'm Dr. Kate Walker, and I will see you guys soon.